Recorded July 30th, 2026. Good afternoon, Gary. Good afternoon, Frank. How are you gentlemen doing today? You guys all right?
Doing all right.
Doing good, Edward.
Today is fair. The only time it's not fair if it happens to me first. So I'm not the first person the day happened to today. There we go. That's
Your
it.
tagline is Saved by Zero. That was a song. Who sang that song?
Oh, God, if you hadn't asked me, I'd tell you who it was. The Clash?
Who was it?
No. Saved by Zero. I heard it all day, and then when you'd ask me, because it was Nina Blackenberg on the 80s channel, on MTV, whatever she was going back through how the song came about.
It's The Fix, yeah.
The Fix.
Yeah, The Fix.
What did I say? Yeah, The Fix.
You know, I have to say that's one of the things that I miss about going to conferences is all the concerts that you get to go to, you know, at the conferences. So we had some really, Microsoft put out some really good shows. So
used to, yeah.
And your t-shirts.
I'd say this was actually surprising. One of the most fun concerts was Huey Lewis in Vegas while the stage shoots out into the pool. You know, I think that was like, I forget which one that one was.
Oh.
No,
I'm trying to think which hotel that is. I know which one that is. Sorry, I'm late, by the way.
You're fine.
Doing the Lord's work.
It is our end of the month of a sort, last Thursday of the month. But before we get into the next month, I don't know about you guys, but the year has flown by. And I mean the calendar year, not the artificial fiscal year that Microsoft recognizes. Man, it's Thursday. So, Franklin, how you been? What's going on? What have you broken lately?
You know, the last time I saw you, I was in Freeport. You didn't understand what Freeport was, which was a location, and I was at dinner on a cruise. So
free stuff.
Yeah. So I'm back on shore, back at home, and you know, really, it's been pretty lazy in July. I did get notification of passing the AI-103, SC500, and GH600. So that's nice to have those behind me. And that's about it. I did some training, but not much.
Yeah, I did 7:30 also. I kept it on your wraps. I got the same thing. Then you get a little email say due to something else they're going to do it. It wasn't a hard exam. It was guessing, and I got it. And then I saw the stuff that you were doing. I said, you know what, I need to add those to it.
You know, if you do item reviews where you know they bring in subject matter experts to actually review the test items and anything that you know there was a lot of questions about or brought up during the test from the feedback, and I was in that meeting. So when you're in those meetings, you actually get the exam, right? I mean, you get the credential. So, which unfortunately I was not in the item reviews of the other 3 exams that I mentioned. So I did get the SC 730, but I am one of the ones that helped say, what is this thing? What is this exam? So it's kind of funny that I still get the certification after helping calling it into question.
And then quickly see it on your transcript. You know, I forget what it was, something about it. It'll be gone. Congratulations on the AI-103. I heard it's not for the faint of heart. You know, I'll give it a shot. The GitHub one,
you know, I gotta tell you, one is I saw somebody else talking about this. The fact that AZ204 to AI200, it's not a developer to developer scenario. So some people are starting to call that out now. Where if you're coming from AZ204 and you want to do, you know, the AI app development, you should be doing 103. I called that out on the show like a month or 2 ago, but I thought the AI 200 the title was incorrect. Even though the content could be valuable, the title was just incorrect. And a lot of people are looking at AZ204 going to AI 200. They should be looking at going to the AI 103.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably fixate on the ones that you've taken. I'm gonna knock the SC500 out when I get back from Black Hat, and the GitHub one is not really I'm finding myself having to maybe make that my warehouse because, yeah, I'm having some interesting conversation. But hey, Gary, what about you? What's interesting in your week?
Not too much. Been playing around a lot with Agent 365. So learning all the ins and outs about that. It's very interesting and a lot more in depth than I thought it would be.
Yes, I actually am going through the Learn, but I took the Learn and ran it through a website that will take, for all our listeners who don't know, all the Microsoft Learns are just a front for the GitHub repository behind it, right? So if you're looking at Microsoft Learn on the website, some of them will show you the Git repository behind it as for the site, but you can easily Bing it and get the actual Git repository URL. And then if you go to this website, it's free. They have a paid version, but I never figured out why we use the paid version called Deep Wiki. That is Delta Echo Echo Papa Whiskey Indigo Kilo Indigo.com. It will create a customized wiki for you. It'll leave your name there too. If you get, I guess if you get a login, when you put it in, you get some extra stuff, but it gives you a very concise learning path, right? A talk track. So it's not reading that dry stuff. It is actually not bad at all. I'm that close to, just buying a paid subscription and see what the difference is. But it's
hold off on that. I'll build it for you.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Hey, Gary, I gotta. So when I'm learning something new, I create a list of things that were not obvious to me when I went through the material or through the website. So what are like the top 3 things that were not obvious to you when we think Agent 365 that you learned?
How dependent it is on Entra. So there's a lot. I would say most of the work you will be doing is in Entra. 2, the communication of the SDK, how in depth that is and what you can do with it. 3 is just, I really do. I mean, it's not something that's not obvious, but the UI is really well written. I think being able to visualize the different agents and where they reside and who's accessing them, the depth that shows up was a big surprise to me.
So the reverse of that, I had a customer that wanted me to do a presentation on Agent 365, no UI, no UX, strictly command line. And it can be done.
Yeah.
You lose a lot of the governance. A lot of the governance stuff doesn't manifest. It only manifests in the UI. It will not show up. You'll break the purview piece of it doing it that way. I'm still playing around with it because I was doing the technical stuff and then I got pulled in and I'm writing I forget what we're doing at the office. I'm writing a paper and getting ready to do a presentation. And I think the topic was cost management as your agent detection platform. Cost management and security. Because I can watch the cost. I can see what something's happening over there. And the cost mechanisms I didn't realize. And I did. So I'll tell you guys this is pretty cool. Frank may know this. Frank's more of a Foundry guy though. But I'll tell you guys something cool that I did it. And then I didn't realize I had done it. And then I broke it. And then I did it again. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. So I this time I didn't break it. I decommissioned it and then put it back. I'm like, oh, let me do a little blog on this and let me do this in an internal lunch and learn show and tell. And there's something that's done monthly by one of my peers. She calls it Forge Frontier, where she talks about tech. And I said, hey, I got a topic. How to use cost management as a security monitoring tool. And she said, well, walk me through. And I showed her. She's like, I didn't know that. I said, you wouldn't, because it's already turned on for you at Microsoft. You wouldn't see it. And then I learned something else different, but I'll get to it in a minute. Rod, why are you late?
2 things. Today was super busy. I think I had like 15 minutes between meetings, sometimes a little more, but and this last meeting before this, I thought I could get a run in, and I did, but that made the other meeting go over. So I'm just late because of that. This week's been a little stressful. I think I may have mentioned this to you, but just to add on to general work stuff, everybody knows what's going on at Microsoft. Preparing for Black Hat next week. We had our events person was impacted by the layoffs, so I kind of had to assume that role. So, yeah, no, that's kind of ouch. So that's been top of mind. The other thing is my daughter and my grandkids and her husband, they found black mold in their house. And so they're getting their house reconstructed. So they're actually living here with us. And from what I understand, they'll probably be here till about March. So all that going on with work and everything that's going on with Microsoft and the reorgs, and it's been crazy. It's crazy.
So the individual that got impacted on your team is the young lady I met when we were at the MVP summit?
Ace. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ace. Oh, that sucks. I like Ace.
I know.
Well, I heard there was some sort of product announcement this week. What was that about?
Well,
yeah, we announced our Perception, our agent that does agents, that does agents, that does agents in your SOC. We're going to be talking more about that at Black Hat and actually demoing it next week along with the MDASH stuff.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and get into the show because I know Franklin is jumping at the bit to talk about this.
Yeah.
For me, training, fiscal year took off, new clients, pulling into conversations where I have no idea what I'm talking about. You know, I got
at the Chicago airport. Yeah, I know.
Yes, I almost didn't get home.
Are you still there, by the way?
I'm back home.
Oh, okay.
See,
I thought maybe you just had one of those backgrounds that looked like your house.
Real wall.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm stressed. I'm still not recovered from that. Tornadoes up in Chicago, stuck at the airport. Literally probably got the last flight they're going to allow us to get out of there and got home. Literally didn't get home that day. I got home at midnight and some change. I got home the next day, technically, right? It was all right. It wasn't time off. It was going to my wife's family reunion. Pulling my teeth out with hot pliers, more desirable, but that's okay. Yeah.
Because you had that experience.
I take it. I give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Can't be any worse. Doing security stuff, maybe a lot of artificial intelligence and stuff like that. But you know, the gist of this show is two things. Let's talk about the announcements Microsoft made about 3 products this ought to be in everybody's, top of mind, front of lobe, and all this other stuff, and probably go back to pull in some conversations from the last show. And let's start off with this way before we get into the meat of the topic. The cybersecurity still exists in the manner it used to in the world of AI. So let's start it with this, and then we'll get into the Microsoft stuff. So last week,
hold on a second. Let me frame this a little bit different. What will cybersecurity look like in 5 years from now?
Okay, that's a better
What
pitch.
jobs are there? What does a SOC look like? I mean, what will cybersecurity look like in 5 years?
So Franklin must be super interested in this topic because this is the best his mic has sound in months. His microphone is horrible. So to our listeners or to anybody else that want to go to our Discord, send us emails, send us their highly opinionated facts. Franklin asked the question, and I'll mirror it. What does cybersecurity look like in 5 years? All right. So let's start off by doing this. In the days, in the weeks blend. A week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, OpenAI had an agent in a sandbox that broke containment, if it was contained. We're hearing that it broke out of the sandbox. Take your word for it, right? And because he was given instructions and a task, it determined that to get the answer was to, and let's put it this way, ain't no doubts about it. It chose to complete its mission by, let me say it and give it a very human context, unlawfully breaking into another company or another infrastructure to complete its scheduled and prompted task. if you think that wasn't the worst part of it, as you read the write-outs, Hugging Face, the victim, and I'm saying because if you look at this, we think we're trying to abstract this by making it say since it wasn't a human, nothing like this happened. It unlawfully entered another infrastructure and broke into another infrastructure to pull data that it was not authorized to have to complete a prompt. And the worst part about it is that Hugging Face personnel identified it and tried to use the same model to contain the specific behavior. It could not, because the model could not determine whether it was being gaslighted, catfish, or whatever else, and said, I don't know if you're the adversary or the defender, I'm not going to help you. And as such, Hugging Face decided to download a localized model to help it remediate, contain, and analyze. And now the everybody's in a hissy fit, telling from the South, because the only model that seemed to be, I won't say only, but the one they did was a recently released model, open weight model by China. Now, if you combine all the other stuff, you got people saying, well, hold on, trying to conflate things, look the other way. Well, China's still in OpenAI's models. Nothing to do with that. While that may be true, this has nothing to do with that piece.
Listen, their model was just trained on the, let me say it right, Kobayashi Maru test. That's all that it is. They were trained on Star Trek, and here we go.
Yeah.
Just cheat. That's all.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm tired of hearing about this in the news because it's gone over, and all this stuff is the model broke out. The model did absolutely nothing. Models do not perform actions. I heard so much misinformation about this that I'm actually tired of talking about this because it was just a part of it was PR, part of it was, hey, they let their agent do what their agent was going to do, and then just everything, the way that people are framing it is just crazy. There was some public places that I finally went out and talked to some of the moderators and pointed out to them, hey, listen, a model gets text and then generates text. We're just talking about text-based models right now, and then the agents are the ones that are actually performing the actions. So stop this model broke containment. A model did not break containment.
Did I say model or did I say agent? I said agent.
I'm just saying that I've been hearing this all the time. I'm tired of hearing about all this out here just because of
misconception.
That's people are letting it happen.
Well, I agree too, because I agree with you wholeheartedly, Frank. People seem to think it did something that it wasn't supposed to do, or it wasn't allowed to do. It literally did what they're not talking about. It literally did what it was allowed to do. It was allowed to do that.
The agent the agent used a model, and the agent was given tools by the programmers to perform these actions that the agent either asked the model how to do, or the model requested those tools or those actions to take place for those tools. But the agent was the driving factor here. This model is not alive and breaking containment and running out. So I'm just tired of hearing this over and over and over again. I think that the more, and Microsoft announced this week, I think is the next step in what we're seeing in cybersecurity. And of course, all the bug squashing that's going on out there is very important. But yeah, I mean, this is just driving me crazy that there's that people are being used by these foundation or frontier model people.
Well, yeah, I like to, unless I go back and listen to myself, I didn't say model. You didn't say I said model. I said agents, right? Because the model didn't do anything, right? It's like reading a report, baseball bat kills man. The baseball bat didn't kill the man, right? So the baseball bat is the agent, and the model is the human behind the bat of a sort, right? I hope I'm making a good analogy.
No.
Maybe backwards.
No.
I don't know. The model is the bat, and the agent is I don't know.
The
But-
human is the developer behind the agent. The human is still the one that is the thing that did this.
Who did this?
It's literally the entire marketing scheme of people like Anthropic. It's fear. People get more interested in a model or a company based on some kind of fear mechanism they do with marketing. It's like, oh, it did this thing, and everybody's interested all of a sudden, and they go check out this company and they get more users.
Really stealthy security agent there too. The number of attacks that it did to get through, very stealthy there. If they're, if they're not seeing that taking place in their environment with how many attacks were taking place, then there's an issue there. So
yeah, that nobody talks about that. That's a great point, Franklin. What are the deterrent and what are the detection and what are their prevention mechanisms that were put in place? Because it didn't use any novel techniques of a sort. It just did it hyper fast.
Yeah, it's true.
It did what it did, and it did, and the fact that the so-called victims in this seem super calm about it. Remember the old saying, "There's no such thing as bad press. There's only press." So we're good. So let's get to this. One of the things that I saw that made me have a secondary hissy fit is that certain sellers immediately say, "Is this an opportunity to sell how we could have prevented this?" You can't say that's demonstrably true. You can't say that your technology would have prevented this, right? You don't need AI. You don't need all this here. The activities of the particular agent would have tipped you off as though it was a biological entity doing the same thing. Who was monitoring the activity that had shown itself to be nefarious? So you didn't need any modern technology to be able to detect this. This is, like Frank said, this is noisy, right? What we will never see is the official and truthful readout from this, from both sides. Both sides seems to benefit this. This is one of these are one of the things that the malefactor or the perpetrator of the so-called incident is getting as much press, and so is the recipient and so-called victim. They loving the press too. So everybody's winning, and you got this fear, uncertainty, and doubt that's being put out there. But neither here nor there. Let's get back to what Franklin said. What will cybersecurity look like in 5 years? I don't want to even give it 5 years. Well, we're in 2026, 4 years. Let's make it a good even number, 2030. What will cybersecurity look like in 2030? Right? With that being said, before we answer that, and we'll let Raj probably close to this than me. Rod, do you want to give us a rundown of what is MDASH that Microsoft is putting out there? Give me the rundown of what MDASH is.
It's fairly simple. It's a set of agents that you give it a GitHub repository, and it goes out and it looks at your code or your app, and it tells you where the gaps are and the security issues. It actually runs actual impact threats against that code and returns what you need to update or what the values are, and gives you
MDASH
recommendations.
or is that Project Perception?
That's MDASH.
Okay.
That's MDASH.
Yeah. Project Perception is quite a bit different in that it's multiple agents that are red team, blue team, purple team, all the teams working together to solve an impact.
So
there's more to it than that, but we can talk about that 6 months from now.
So MDASH is looking at your development repositories, primarily Git, right? I have not heard where you can look at GitLab or a couple of the other places. Let's just say GitHub, right? It can look at the repository and say, hey, based on the resident code here are the vulnerabilities that we've identified by virtue of just listing known that you haven't remediated, looking at vulnerabilities that it discovers, and also looking at you just writing bad code, modifying the base code level, right? So MDASH allows you to scan repositories of code that then says, hey, you have these potential vulnerabilities, right? Remember, there's still potential, right? Is it a vulnerability if I'm not exposed to the internet?
it goes a little bit further, right? Because it actually runs those attacks and simulates it. So it gives you a report and tells you where that is. Because we already have things like GitHub security, right? So we have gas. Yeah.
So it goes out and it actualizes, instead of making it abstract in theory, it says, I did it. You asked me to prove it, and I came back with the head of Medusa. Here you go.
Yeah. It's going to make your code more secure. Your
Make
apps
your
more
code
secure.
AI telling you that the AI code that AI wrote is cracked.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Let's not confuse it about it. It's not for that. It's not to go out and scrutinize AI coding capability.
If you trust it to give you a truthful response.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've ran it against a couple of my repositories, and yeah, some of them were obvious, and some of them were like, wow, I'd never even thought about that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. The strength of artificial intelligence, if you keep it very simple, is the ability to keep working and not be distracted. That's the strength of it. Like right now, I'm thinking about, did I remember to take out something for dinner? Instead of me sitting here looking for vulnerabilities and doing the pen test I was hired for, right? So the ability to extend that sense of urgency and dutifulness in the request is your superpower of AI. Because if we didn't need to eat, sleep, go to the bathroom, we could do it. We wouldn't be as fast, but we still could do it. And I say we humans, right? So let's jump over to the second thing. Microsoft also made an announcement about something called MAI-1-Cyber-1-Flash. And let me give a very layman's readout of it. What it supposedly does is automate the remediation that is found by the MDASH process. So if you get the results from MDASH and you don't know how to approach going back to do it, Microsoft has released this additional capability attached to a different back-end model set that allow you to go in and either automate, I won't know how much fully, but automate the remediation of the vulnerabilities found, and or provide recommendations, because you still got to have change control. Because the worst thing you could do is have a knee-jerk reaction and generate a pink slip, right? Because I can stop any hacker from getting in my environment. I walk down to the data center and unplug the switch to the core thing, right? Now Frank was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to use the resonant frequency of fans to be able to jump and use RFID, whatever it may be, right? We talk about old school. So this thing, I want to get the name right because it is a long name. Frankly, you have it in hand. It's called MAI-1-Cyber-Flash. I'm probably getting adjusted position about what it is.
Yeah, I can't remember.
And so what this thing is, and remember, both of these are products. Let me change a little bit of nomenclature. Both of these are initiatives released by Microsoft. Because right now there's not a pricing model. It's a product when you figure out how to charge for it. So these are things that are being put out there, and someone's paying for the compute, someone's paying for the intelligence to do it. And old saying is 15 minutes in, if you can't figure out how much it costs, then you're the product, you're the sucker, right? So we'll see. So you have the ability to detect, and now you have the ability to remediate. And those are not mutually inclusive of preventing, right? That is, I'm going to detect what's going on, and now I'm going to go remediate it. Well, there's a gap between both of those. That how do you prevent this? Okay. I don't know if this lines specifically up and where it lines, but now let's talk about what Microsoft also put out there. It's called Project Perception. Perception is to look at and read. Perception is to go ahead and look at the activities of agents that may or may not be sanctioned on the endpoints. Okay. You will see it manifest in the Defender portal, security.microsoft.com or defender.microsoft.com. Once you're onboarded for it, right? So now I'm looking at, and you see a little bit of this if you go to the Defender portal and go to AI and look at client side agent or model activity on the endpoints. If you're running MDE, you can see the sensors. Now, will this extend out to say that I can see this if I'm not running the Defender agent? Right now, you can't. Not yet. but the sensor is still lightweight, as let them tell it. And it also has a unique thing that I actually saw it in action that was pretty cool. It still will identify what it can believe as model localized activity, right? Read, write, whatever. Remember, still the model. The model's not doing anything. It's the agent. And agent side activity, even if you can't identify the agent. So I'm thinking it's more like client side MCAS. See, I went back old school MCAS, but for agents. So I have not been able to go in and beat up on it. I've seen it, and you can't get it. You have to be part of the program, onboarded for it. So now you have project perception, and it's definitely endpoint detection of agent activity. Now I'm going to make a declarative statement here that's totally unscientific and has no validation in reality, but isn't all agent activity binary? If you didn't tell it to do it, it's bad. If you told it to do it, it's good. You don't know until you get going. So that's the thing I'm looking at. And Gary, you work for a Microsoft partner, and they're pretty prominent, and they do really good stuff. What have you heard? If you've heard anything or have any exposure to let's work backwards. Project perception.
Yeah, I've had my head down this week, so I haven't even heard of this until you just mentioned it. But it sounds like it's going to be very interesting. I've been looking at the AI summary of it. Can't wait to play with it.
And the cool part about it, it is actually, we're not talking about anything that's, proprietary to get us all in trouble. I threw it out the link, and when you go, you'll see that Microsoft has made an announcement, and it's, business AI powered cybersecurity project perception agentic system. So let me read it as it's posted on the publicly available site. Project perception, a workforce of specialized AI agents now in preview, red, blue, and green. That reasons it said that reason across your security data, tools, and workflows to expose gaps, investigate threats, and remediate them continuously. You set the strategies the agents carry the loads. And so when you do an overview, it talks about the different agents. Red agents probe like an attacker, blue agents investigate like your best responder, and green agents remediate. Okay. This is my first time hearing, and Rod, you've been doing this as long as I have. Frankly, probably been doing it longer than all of us. I know blue team, I know red team, I know purple team, but I've never heard green team. Is green team a thing where green team is the people that come in and fix it? What is that, Rodney?
What is green team? That's the one that actually fixes,
Yeah,
or remediates completely, or fixes code, or engineers the fix for whatever that thing, that gap or that security gap is. And so we got red, right, which is offensive. Blue's defensive. There's the purple, obviously. There's also an orange and yellow team, by the way.
I was wondering if there's a yellow team to, blue and yellow make green.
Yep. But the green team, yeah. It automates fixing the code. Yeah.
So is that?
So it's going beyond just patching. It's literally going out, and if it identifies a flaw in the code that's causing the security issue, it's going to fix that code.
So this is talking about, is it looking at code, or is it looking at like your Defender environment?
Edward, you're on mute somehow.
He's talking to himself.
I was clicking on the link and must have clicked mute. So
No.
it does, this particular one looks at entity behavior, actions, and activity, right? Because it's talking. Let me just read from it real again, because I haven't had time to really play with this. The red team agents simulate attacks, know what's exploited before the attacker does. The blue team agents detect and triage, reach a clear verdict in minutes, not hours. And green team agents fix and remediate, close the gap to find true root cause and safest fix. Now, the first two, I'm all on board. Red team acting like a red team, blue team acting like a defense. The green team, this is a pretty declarative statement, pretty absolute. Close the gap and find the root cause and safest fix.
True root cause.
True root cause. And so when you look at Defender, Microsoft Defender gets a new interface for this. It looks like a rendition of Copilot Chat, the interface, and not sort of embedded into the Defender portal. So I'm wrong, maybe because the demo I saw had it flipping between portals. But this interface looks like a a Copilot 365 interface, and then it has home and a few other things. But the show notes, the links are in there, so it gives you a M365 Copilot-like feel where you put in the prompts and you guide it through for what you want it to do. And then if you're talking about the agents in it, they have documentation that's listed on the site. You can read the docs, and it says what is project perception. I already talked about it, where I talked about the routine, and it says how is Project Perception different from Microsoft Security Copilot. Project Perception is our agentic system that includes all security agents. AI that acts. Microsoft Security Pilot is our generative AI assisted chat interface. AI that it assists. They work together. Where can I access Project Perception? At launch, Project Perception brings multi-agent coordinated defense directly into the Defender. Over time, Perception will extend across Microsoft security products to deliver agentic in defense end-to-end. How is it priced? Using a consumption-based pay-as-you-go prices. You only pay for what you use. Measure in security compute units, SCUs. Boy, seems like there was a plan, because as of last year, they were giving away SCUs for free, which are the compute operational units that power the agents. So now the SCUs that customers got, which I believe was, Rod, it's been a minute. Is it, how many SCUs per 1,000 users? 400. 400 SCUs per 1,000 E5 or higher licensed users. So now the SCUs are tagged to your E5 and E7 licensing. All right, let's go back and read a little bit more here. So you use the SCUs to power this, but it doesn't give you any idea of what the agent SCU consumption is like. And then it goes and says, now I feel like I'm deja vu. Didn't we talk about this 2 years ago? What is a secure compute unit? SCU burn, baby. A secure compute unit is the unit used to measure project perception usage. Now, this is the first time that I've actually seen over 2 years of Copilot that the SCU had a definitive use case outside of Copilot. It said this is what's used to power perception. It used to be SCU was this and this and that. So this seems to be a very deliberate and a very much, I'm going to put a lot of muscle behind from Microsoft to say that this is what's going on.
But also, isn't there an important thing here on the blue team agent and the fact that where I hate to go back to the OpenAI, it's so funny. I was watching a show, and instead of calling it Hugging Face, the financial analyst called it Hugging Bear or something like that. It was kind of funny. The fact that they could not utilize the frontier models to do the analysis, well, that means that Microsoft is making sure with their own purpose-driven models here that you're going to be able to do that analysis. So that issue that was seen with Hugging Face will not be an issue with Microsoft, I would assume, in dealing with these agents.
Wait a minute. Ask the question one more time, Franklin.
All right. So remember, Hugging Face ran into an issue that they could not utilize the frontier model to do the analysis.
Yep.
So what Microsoft is saying here, is it that the blue team agents will not be running into that because Microsoft has their own purpose-driven, purpose-trained models. So that concern of, hey, I need to go get these open source weights to be able to, we don't have to worry about that here with inside the Microsoft ecosystem. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, yes, that's exactly what you're saying. This is basically a break glass approach without having to break glass. Big shout out to Mona at Capgemini. She wrote a good link on this. One of the things I said was, if you're one of these frontier companies and you had this encounter, you need a break glass model. If the model that is being used is being to attack you and you try to remediate it, use the same model, but it wouldn't allow it to do it, you need to have a break glass model that a user can download to say, and I can tell you some problems with what I'm about to give you. People are going to go worst case scenario. Give me that model without the guardrails. Well, people say if you do that and that gets out into the wild, all bets are off. Well, all bets are off anyway, right?
The model's not going to get out into the wild. Once again, what you just said is one of the things. The model's not going to get into the wild, right?
That's not true. The model can get into the wild. You may not be able to run it. If someone's able to compromise your thing, I know it seems enormous to be able to download, because a model, a true frontier model, is as wide as this house and as deep as the surface to the center, right? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to compress this to say that maybe you have a specialized response model or a forensics model or whatever. But this is what perception is doing. It's saying, hey, we have this particular back-end model that's going to allow us to be able to do this, that is independent of the things that you are using. So it is specialized. So yeah, you're right. Me saying a break glass download a model, you're right. You can't run
And
it.
the other thing is, this is in Foundry right now. You can actually deploy models into its own hardware that you've deployed, right? Or that you're deploying through Azure. So you don't have to be running out and buying, Edwards data center to actually run your blue team through it. So see what's in Foundry. You can deploy onto its own provisioned hardware, and then you're good to go.
Yes. And so with project perception, I don't know the deployment nuances, but it sounds to me it's similar that if you were using a collaboration and productivity solution, aka Microsoft Scout, which is just a derivative of Copilot, you have it. I don't know how to introduce it into your environment.
I'm just saying, having a break glass model for dealing with incident response, because you're worried about your primary model not allowing you to do something, you should look at what models Foundry can deploy and set up that break glass environment through Foundry and have that set up if you want that to be the case.
Yeah, I you know something? Early in our show, we would always try to figure out how we could take the traditional deployment methodology and operation environment or something. Remember, we talked about I wanted to run Sentinel on premise, and so we started about using Azure Stack. I'm wondering if you could use something similar like that, where you could run Foundry on your own hardware, but I'm wondering if you could put.
You don't want to pay for that hardware right now. It's too damn expensive. So you want to spin it up and get rid of it when you don't need it. In there. So
yeah. But then my thing goes back from being a network guy is the connectivity back to the source cloud of operation will be in jeopardy, right? And I know all of this is sci-fi in the way that you try to hypothesize all these things that could happen, right? You need any number of things could have prevented that agent from doing what it did, because it wasn't a model, it was the agent. Or you ask the question, but what would cybersecurity look like in 5 years?
That's the question. Let's answer that.
Truth be told, let me answer the question with a question. Is the surge artificial intelligence in cybersecurity, regardless of what it may be, really producing anything novel? or is it producing fast? Right? Is it introduced something fundamentally that we never have seen, or we just haven't seen it? Right? So it's not creating net new exploits by saying, oh, I've come up with a way that I'm going to rewrite the way that you write stuff to physical RAM and then hide it in there and do something. I mean, it hasn't created a net new technology or an attack vector that I've seen. And Frank, you're more in tune to this. Everything I've seen, I've not seen something that goes, oh, that's new.
So there's many obviously different fields within cybersecurity. You have the whole pen testing side, D for SOC analyst, and then you also have, you know, the quote unquote software scanning or whatever that's going on. So what, you know, obviously one of the first things being disrupted is the fact of that you're using models to scan the Windows source code to find all of the different priv-esque, you know, memory situations that are going on. So, you know, and you're doing that across a lot of different products. So basically, you know, do we get to the point that that you're only at a point of from a hacker standpoint, living off the land attacks? That's all you can do, living off the land, right? Because every single thing else actually has been closed. You know, let's say in 3 years, you know, all the source code in the world that matters has been scanned, and all of those sort of things have been closed, and anything new coming out is run through a model, right? So, you know, then you're just stuck on living off the land, which is fine, but how does that change? And then also, you know, why are people using models for you know, indicators, you know, or behaviors of lateral movement that are pretty well defined, how lateral movement can take place, right? So how does that change? So where are we at in 5 years thinking of that?
5 years. All right, here's what's going to happen in 5 years. There truly won't be any entry-level cybersecurity positions. The term entry-level won't be there, right? You will be a cybersecurity practitioner. We'll come up with some more different measurements of particular skill sets and experience, but entry-level, intermediate, those things will go. And I'm gonna give you my 3, and we'll go to Gary next. Number 2. I don't think you will find anybody to underwrite cybersecurity insurance that's not going to put your company out of business. The cost of it's going to be astronomical. Nobody's going to underwrite cybersecurity insurance with any intention of paying out. If you get it and you buy cybersecurity insurance, I bet you better read the fine print, or you better use AI.
We have an intention to pay out today, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, you're really not going to have. This is going to be a money grab. You're going to have cybersecurity insurance with so many add-ons. Do you want network insurance? Do you want AI breach insurance? Do you want AI insider threat insurance? Do you want nefarious internal agent actor insurance? When there's money to be made, there's going to be a way to find someone who wants a false sense of security to say, I checked the box. We had a guest on, we can't mention his name, but he came on, he talked about, he was a CEO of a company, the nuances of cybersecurity insurance. Cybersecurity insurance in 5 years will look nothing like this. You will not be able to afford it, and you'll be throwing money into the fire, because unless you're using artificial intelligence to go in and vet the underwriting, there is no way you're going to get paid, because they're going to find a nuance to say you didn't cover all of your bases. And remember, the cybersecurity company, more than, I think the guy said 8 times out of 10, they choose their response entity. You don't. And so now that's going to be one of the things. And number 3, with cybersecurity, we have yet to see an emergence of a net new skill. People say, well, artificial intelligence is net new, but I think there's so much overhead that you're really not seeing the maturation of people who are coming up through cyber the way that, and have a foundational base the way we did. I came up through networking. Some people came up through application, SDLC. I think that the way that people enter this is going to be fundamentally different.
Yeah.
What does a SOC look like in 5 years? Does a SOC exist in 5 years?
Yes.
I'm gonna let somebody else handle that one. I don't know.
I think so. I think it'll just be different. I think you'll still have a security operations center. There still needs to be a human who gets the finger pointed at them if something goes wrong, if your agents don't work. Or I just think in 5 years, it's going to be primarily just agent driven. It's going to be a continuous process. You don't even know. You'll have to actually look into that operation to see exactly what's going on. You won't have to think about it anymore. But I think what's going to change is the targets. I think it's going to be less about, well, it's still a business because there's things to exfiltrate, right? But at the end, I think it's going to be the other things. It's going to be our devices. It's going to be our appliances. It's going to be our robots. I think it's just the landscape's going to change.
Can I throw one thing in before I forget this?
Yes.
I know what my fourth was. I was on the call and we were talking about quantum computing and quantum. I can't think of the term that they're using. Is already marketed about. The ciphers are going to be broken here, and cryptology or encryption certainty. When think about the good, people say the ciphers won't stand up to a true quantum computer. They're going to be broken in minutes, days at best. Well, what's the good part about it? The good part about it is if quantum computer can break ciphers, there'll be no more ransomware. I'm going to break your cipher. Will you be able to ransomware me anymore? So as much as there may be some negative aspects of any technology, I think I want to start changing the thing to the positive piece of it, right? Because you get enough people using the technology, then the nuance and the uncertainty and the ability to exploit the technology for negative gets less. We got to get more people and more technology because you got to fight this thing. You have to be able to approach this. I won't say fighting. This seems very adversarial. You have to be able to approach this with the same measure of technology, urgency, and efficiency as the people that want to do this. So right now, it seems that people, the negative security or nefarious security actors, whoever they may be, have a direct intention of using it for bad. It seems like the majority of people are using it for productivity, how to improve, how to become more efficient. You're seeing these startup companies come about talking about everything has AI in it, but what does that really mean, right? So look at the good side of what's going to come from this. Sometimes the only time your defense gets better that you got to play some really hard, you got to play some teams with some really good offense. If I'm going to a sports analogy, if you're fighting cream puffs or you're playing against cream puffs, and when you get a true offensive team, you don't know what to do. Now, you're also seeing, let's look at it at this point. When will pen testing companies become obsolete? When do these so-called red teams, they go out, when will they become obsolete? When would your ability to pen test yourself surpass the ability to bring a third party in? And I'll leave it. I'll let Frank go to this one. I believe that the minute that you're able to run heavy models, not just open weight, but any model, and the cost of the actual physical compute makes it affordable, you can run anything there. Either the models are going to get lighter or they're going to become multiple instances of expertise. MIE, is that what it is, Franklin? And so you can start disjoining these large models into subsequent models and do granulated or fragmented requests. So now you're going to bring the cost down. So you're going to see some cybersecurity specialization go away. Why would I need that? Right? I'll leave it at that. So there's some good behind it.
You reminded me of the question I have is, if we had to pay for the OpenAI attack on Hugging Face, How much do you think that would have cost in tokens?
Mm.
All right, Gary. What 5 years from now? What does cybersecurity, the SOC, all that look like?
That's a good question, because if you ever read like the singularity is near, one of the things that he says is technology increases exponentially because we're building off older technology and it just gets faster and faster. And so in 5 years, who knows, we could have quantum computers on our desktops. But I do think there will be entry levels cybersecurity, but it's going to be very different than what you see now. These are going to be people that know how to write prompts, can look at the different AI agents and see how they're interacting to get a better understanding of what's happening behind the scenes.
So 5 years or 4 years, let's say 2030, the cybersecurity become a commodity offering. I'm not talking about the individual skill set. These companies that are building AI security offerings, do they become a commodity?
I mean, it could be like, it wasn't that long ago we had entire teams to make the slides. Now we have PowerPoint. Could very well be something like that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Maybe it's just companies sell their agents. You buy the agents, you buy this group and treat it like people, right? You buy a whole team from a company that builds agents, and hopefully trustworthy agents, I guess. Maybe that's going to be the...
When you look at skills, right now you have the subject matter experts writing out the skills, but that's changing. I mean, there's an entire thing that I can go down about where agents are going and orchestration and all that other fun stuff. But in the future, right now we have subject matters experts writing the skills for agents. That's going to go away.
Yeah.
Agents will be able to write the agents. I mean, I had somebody ask me just the other day, when you were in high school, are you doing the jobs you thought you would have when you were in high school? And I'm like, no, my job didn't even exist when I was in high school. And that's probably true for a lot of people.
Is that a cat or a dog, Gary?
Oh, that's Crypto, my dog.
No, that's Gary's tail.
I'm very happy to see everybody.
All
right, it looks like Edward's thinking.
I'm thinking about something. I wanted to show you, but I can't do it. I was on the screen. I wanted to show you guys something, and it obviously won't work now. So if we go back, I love the question: what does cybersecurity look like in 5 years? And you got all these so-called thought leaders and all that, but really and truly, let me put it this way. Who would you consider major artificial intelligence security brokers? And the only thing you can't sell AI. You can't be the person, as I heard a customer say, and I'll leave it at that. You're creating disease and you're selling a cure. Right? I'm the only person that can save you. Right? And you need to buy it from me. So what artificial intelligence security companies come to mind, but the caveat is they cannot sell AI. They can only be a purely cyber company. Can anybody name a major company that way? The large hyperscalers, you got to exclude them right off the bat. They're selling them.
They're going to have the purpose-driven models that are out there. I mean, you take a look at where coding is today and where it's going to be in a few years, and the fact of the maturity of the models is really key. So once again, there's two things here: the maturity of the models, and then the agents, and the harnesses and so on that are out there. So I just don't see a company that's not in a cybersecurity side not providing their own models being the winners in the long run.
Yeah, and one other thing is this. It's going to happen. They don't need everybody to say, well, you don't know that. I do know this. We have yet to have a catastrophic artificial intelligence incident. Spectre, meltdown, a couple of near misses. And it may not be cybersecurity nefarious actions intentionally. It may just be the way that models and or artificial intelligence works, right? I think you need that.
Listen, everything's going to be blamed on AI in the future.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the bottom line is it takes the place of the advanced persistent threat actor that broke into my company just because that sounds better than me having a VNC server set up that was open to the internet. So, you know, that's basically expect AI to be blamed on everything.
You know, I challenge everybody here to let's not be a Debbie Downer. Let's do positive. Here's my positive. Going back to something easy. If I had to write an agent and put it in your environment that's constantly monitoring, it will be so specialized to look at any activity that would be construed as a precursor to ransomware, right? There's certain behaviors that look like a ransomware incident is going to occur. Data exfiltration, movement between file storage locations unauthorized. These are people mapping out before they decide to put whatever encryption methodology in to be able to do it. And something that can actually use the encryption activity to create a decrypt key real time, right? So if I see it, maybe I can write the decrypting mechanism for it real time. And this is even before quantum is able to be conducted at room temperature, which is the biggest thing, right? And no earthquakes. You can't run quantum when you got seismic activity, right? So you need someone that's super stable. That will be, so you're solving a very specific problem now. You know, people have tried to solve ransomware all the time, and you still get it. Someone clicks yes, this and that. It's not what you know. But if I had an agentic personnel, my job is to look for anything that's ransomware indicative and be able to prevent it. And God forbid, if you're able to write something that can look at the encryption methodology or look at the encryption payload package that they're going to use beforehand and be able to stop the encryption even in mid to say, hey, I want to isolate the server and then maybe even isolate the files resident to the server, whoever it may be, real time. I think that's going to be one of the benefits of artificial intelligence. I'm able to stop something midstream and minimize the blast radius right there, and then be able to identify it and reverse it. You're gonna have
Defender for endpoint can already do that, but that's okay.
Who can do that?
Defender for endpoint.
Now you're making jokes, but I'm good. You got jokes.
I'm not being a Debbie Downer. I think this is a very interesting where things are going. Then again, you know, I don't have to worry about a 40-year career in cybersecurity into my future, you know. So I think that one of the things that I've been around long enough that, you know, one of the things is change. You have to reinvent yourself. It's no big deal. It's just part of the career. So to me, it's just another day at the office.
And let's take a look at it from a different standpoint. You're going to probably create finally, because I've always thought, and nothing negative, right? Because I've been interviewed for the position, been offered, and never took it. I think you're going to see a chief artificial intelligence officer really manifest across your leadership chain and leap over the chief information security officer, because it's not so much securing it, it's adopting it. When someone can push back with teeth to say, I don't care if we're not the company that's bleeding edge AI. Do you realize the repercussions of a true artificial intelligence breach, how it would impact your business? And it's not even the ones and zeros. It is the reputational damage that will be done. When you introduce agents that can go out and find these exploits at wire speed, whatever machine learning speed and whatever else, and even if you contain it, can you ever trust the infrastructure?
You know, here's the deal: is that we are seeing the same playbook play over and over again. Okay, with what's going on. We've seen this playbook with cloud. We've seen this playbook with the internet coming out. Same playbook to partners. Same playbooks by Microsoft. Same playbooks on the technology. Same thing that executives have to decide on. It's the same playbook once again. I hate to tell everyone, but that's the case.
It's the same playbook. It is just coming back and resurfacing stuff that we never took care of when the technology was, I like to use the word simple. You know, nothing's simple anymore. And so you're looking at it from that standpoint. It is not,
You know, I saw back in the day when the internet came out, what companies were, we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this without any real goal in sight, without taking security into consideration. We've seen all this before. People are going to make the same mistakes. You know, it's that's why I I'm not going to go down that road, but that's fine.
Well, Rod and I are going to Defcon and Black Hat next week. I'm looking forward to seeing some good peers out there. I am super interested in who is selling fear, uncertainty, and only I can save you. Right? This I want to see this. What thing are you going to come in to be able to do this? That's going to be able to allow me to do this, and I'm going to go. What makes you the authoritative voice that I should listen to? Well, we come in with a novel approach to do. In this world and time, very few things are very novel, right? You're just putting a different smell to it, right? So I haven't gone to Black Hat and DEF CON in years. I'm hyper interested in going in this time, and I want to hear what folks are doing. What are you doing? What problems are you solving? It's not even that. Who has the ability to predict something that has not manifested as a potential nuance? Because everything's not a problem. Every agent that you don't know about running in your environment is not a security risk. It's a compliance risk. It's a governance risk, but it's not a security risk. They're not mutually inclusive. Because if you do that, then a majority of companies are out of compliance. They're out of compliance.
I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat. Somebody's giving you problems about you'd have less in the chat. They said you'd have less smell, Edward, if your trash can lid was closed.
Yeah.
And that's good because you unplug it from the internet.
No, behind you. Your trash can
is literally open.
Your trash can lid is open.
Oh, yeah.
He was trying to work out a problem like an engineer.
I was shooting baskets. Let me see.
Oh.
Every time I feel like, let me see if I can do it. Where's that stupid?
You need an agent. Yep, it went in as far as you know.
There you go. Whoever is trolling me, and I know who you are, D6624. I use AI to find you. Yes, I did. Well, as we get close to closing the show, let's go back to the question. And everybody gets to give one answer.
Yes.
What does cybersecurity look like in 2030? Anything. Gary, you go first.
I'm going to say you're not going to know it's there. It's going to be working behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. He took the easy route. That's a layup.
That's why I went first. I got the easy one out of the way.
Rod, what do you think?
I agree with Gary. That's what I said earlier. You're just going to have agents working in the background to do those things. But I think it's just going to be, I think the landscape's going to be different. I think it's going to be expanded beyond our desktops and our mobile devices. We're going to be more concerned about, I like what Trevor said in the chat. You're going to have water security experts to keep the data centers from going offline.
Franklin?
Honestly, I've enjoyed listening to what you guys have said. It's making me think because I asked that question to you before because I really don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
So I'm much more interested in what people are thinking than what I have to say on this.
Okay. Here's my thought. The way you control, and just my thought, the way that you control artificial intelligence is to treat it like headcount. Put a budget to it. Make it so that HR treats agents as though they're treating headcount. You're only allowed to run these many agents, and you're only allowed to spend this much money. You find yourself being able to quickly identify when you have outliers. When HR has now have to improve and put agents on the payroll, So when you look at the cost of this being extrapolated from the IT to the true operations, you now have more granular control. Because I'll be able to tell you when something looks squirrely. If I sit here and say that you were only approved to hire, listen to my words, you were only approved to hire 3 agents. Why are you running 5? Well, no. And you're going to have agents pass background checks. You got to pass a background check.
Well, those agents are in the back room having babies. What do you do about that?
Well, how come we aren't digitally signing these agents? Well, we are. Agents have agent IDs and blueprint IDs. No. Put a digital certificate and sign it and put an expiration date to the agent. Like we used to do websites, right?
So birth and death of the agent identity.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Agents don't get to live in perpetuity. You age and you age out, right? And
you can do that anyways because it's a recurring financial stream.
There you go. I suspect places that have burstable consumption will probably be the ones that figure out. Think H&R Block. H&R Block for a series of months becomes one of the largest compute organizations in the world. Why? Because it's tax season. They spend all these containers up and they crunch numbers. I've seen it. And this is not hypothetical. And then the tax season lows, they turn down the containers and they go back to a normal this. You're going to be able to look at the consumption model as one of your security measurement points, right? You'll be able to see it, because if you can fine tune how much it costs for an agent to operate and you get the cost mechanism quicker than the activity. If I know that this agent that I'm running costs $2 per whatever, and all of a sudden I'm seeing one that's running at $5 per whatever, or doesn't have a billing policy. So in the next show, I want to show you guys, it's actually pretty cool, the Agent 365. I tried to use Cowork, and it said in my environment, you can't use Cowork, request access. I'm the GA. I run Ush up in here. What do you mean? I go into Agent 365, and it goes, you need a billing policy to be able to burn these credits against. So when it went from an admin to go, that's cool. I can put a limit on how the agents operate because they don't have the money to continue to run. They don't have the credits. So you can control activity by controlling the dollars. What funds negative activity? Money.
Well, you have to understand one of the attacks out there is to actually drive the cost up for a company if they're leaving their LLM exposed without any sort of credit cap there. So, I mean, that is a common attack now.
Well, it goes to what you and I talked about God, we've been doing this podcast so long ago. Well, remember when people are attacking cloud infrastructure who didn't manage their spending and they were just running Bitcoin miners before the hyperscalers started monitoring that behavior. Now you cannot run Bitcoin miners in any of the major hyperscalers. You cannot do it. Even if you want, you cannot do it. They see that behavior. I personally have witnessed someone get called to task, HR, and terminated because they were an IT person, has spun up something in AWS and they were mining. I laughed my ass off about this about 3 years ago. I was like, what? They had spun up a massive compute entity, and we're mining Bitcoin. Think about that now. So look at the admin piece before we quickly go to the technology. Follow the money. If the bean counters may be your best defense. Here's your budget. Well, you only gave me 100,000 credits for this month. You have 100,000 credits, not one credit more. Make the agent activity fit within that budget. Now I can track it and you'll be able to see it, right? So the mechanisms are there. Quit trying to use technology that you're good at to be the thing that you do. You use something else. If it smells like a duck, walks like a duck, swims like a duck, crafts like a duck, it may not be a duck, it may be a hawk. You just never know, right? So I'm also in the realm what Frank is. I don't have to worry about a 10, 15-year career in artificial intelligence, what's going on. That's where point of my career. That's not what we're going to do. But why I am in it is I'm enjoying what I'm seeing, right? And I think that maybe this is one of those technologies that the innovation comes outside of the people that are the practitioners. People who are using it for recreational and everything else outside of us are probably going to be the people that come in and go, did you see this? Right? And then it may come from an industry that has nothing to do with cyber. It may be for someone else who's a victim and says, this is what we saw. And this is how we contained it because we didn't know what it was. And this is an exciting time. I tell everybody, folks, the kids that I mentor to that are coming through college, no, should I go through cyber? Should I be a technologist? This is a time to be a generalist for as long as you can. And then when you find the right pivot, become a specialist in it. And the specialist, when nobody will take the job, nobody wants to do that, nobody understands it, take the job. There's no right or wrong then. Take it. I'll take it. I'll do it. Well, we've never done this before. It don't matter. Then you can't measure me. Let me go do it. That's why I believe where cyber is going to evolve. You're also going to have, and I will close with this because we're 22 over. You also have this. You're going to have your snake oil salesman. So when we go to Def Hat, I do like to I said Def Hat.
Def Hat or BlackCon?
Def Hat or BlackCon. You're going to find your snake oil salesman. And I'm going there to be an a-hole to say, and this works how? Blah, 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 blah. Well, what if I do this? Well, what if I do this? Or what if I do this? Well, let me do your demo. No, don't do that demo. Show me this right here.
Show me in my car.
Yeah. Ooh, we didn't even talk about that.
I know.
That's a scary one.
Yep.
I don't even talk about it. I'm already frightened. Thank you, everybody, for this.
It's exciting, though.
Until the next show, we'll be back after Def Hat and BlackCon. We'll be out there. If you see Rod and I out there, come up and speak. We may have a prize for you. Got some really cool stuff. We're taking some swag also.
It's true. I will be in the booth all week. All week.
I will be in disguise. So I'm going to see if Rod can pick me out.
Yeah.
We'll see what's going on, right? I'm gonna do the Mission Impossible and pull my whole head off, right? I'm like, oh my God, it's Tom Cruise. Hey, that's me. We'll see. So everyone, thanks for your time. Trash can better be open next time. You know what? D6624. I know who you are. I use AI. I know who you are. I just needed you to stay online long enough for me to track you down. Hey, let's do it in a couple of weeks. We'll be back. We'll bring some nuance. We'll bring some tidbits. We'll do this. We'll talk about people we met at Def Hat and BlackCon. Oh man, I don't need to go by that domain name. Def, go by that. Do it. Everyone have a good night. This is good. This is what all these consultants get paid for. We have not provided an answer to anything, but everybody thinks we're a subject matter expert. There you go. That's how that works.